Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about more on the relationship side of the coaching that I do with people, do with clients, is how to rekindle your relationship with your wife or girlfriend and make her want intimacy with you again. Because one of the biggest problems in romantic relationships, especially from the guy's point of view, is when you first start dating, you're touching each other all over, you're having sex all the time, you're being intimate all the time, everything's just so amazing, and then things slowly start to dwindle, and it can even dwindle so much to the point that your wife or girlfriend no longer is making love to you at all. Okay, and it's been months or even years where you haven't got it on. So the best time to catch this is when it starts to happen. So when you first get into a relationship and you notice that everything's sort of simmering down, which is sort of a natural thing anyway. Like when you first get together, you're both still kind of exploring each other, and you're still in that honeymoon period. So things do dwindle a little bit. Things do ease off a little bit, but what can happen is basically maybe you was making love all the time, and now it's got to the point where okay, you're making love about 3 times a week, and that's pretty good. That's a pretty good number in my estimation. So let's say you're doing that, and then it gets down to once a week, which also is pretty fine. But when it gets past that, and it's like maybe only happening once a month, once every 2 months, only a couple of times a year, that's when you need to really be like, what's going on here? How can I turn this around? And one of the main causes of breakups is actually one of these issues, that the woman is no longer as interested in sex and her libido has gone down. Now, what you need to understand though about some women, especially if you've had kids with a woman, sometimes this can actually change her chemically and it makes her more like focused on the child and the children. It kind of turns her into this like mama bear, everything's about the children sort of thing, which is just one of those things that can sometimes happen. But there are some things that you can do to make her want to be more intimate with you, to make her more attracted to you again. Now, obviously, you may be thinking, oh, there's things that I have to do. It's her who's got the problem. Now, that's a fair point. Yeah, that could be the case. Perhaps you're doing absolutely everything right, and she's completely in the wrong, and she should be, putting out, right? But you may have that belief. But the thing is that you can't really control other people. You can only control how you behave and the actions that you do. So give these a try before going to the divorce process or the breaking up process, because obviously most men, intimacy is a huge part of a relationship, right, for a guy. So it's a big thing, right? It's really important. For some women it's just not as important, and for women it's not as important. But it depends on the woman though. Sometimes it is really important, so it's kind of who you pick in certain circumstances. But essentially, for most men, the majority of men, like 95% of men, maybe even 99% of men, need to have intimacy with their wife or girlfriend, and they need it regularly, okay? So it's a big part of your life, and it's something that you really want to, a big part of your relationship, and one of the things that makes you feel connected to your partner. So you can see why it's really important, and you can see why men leave relationships that have become sexless, and they're going through a period of deathbed. So these are things that you can do, okay, to try and turn things around before you decide that you're no longer going to be with your woman anymore. So one of the first things that you want to focus on is you want to sort of bring more joy and fun back into the relationship, because essentially she doesn't want to have sex with a moody git. So if you're being moody all the time, because let's say you've got pressures at work, you've got pressures at home, but you're miserable all the time, first of all, if you're really miserable, then you need to go and seek some medical professional help if it's really troubling you. But it could be that you're just a bit of a grump and you're not necessarily got anything medically wrong with you. But if you do think there's something medically wrong, please go and get help. I'm not a medical professional. These are only tips that can help the average Joe or Jane who don't have any sort of like mental disadvantages through their health and things. So please go and seek help if you feel like you need it. But essentially, if you don't bring much joy and laughter into the relationship and you're always moody, then she's not. Why would she want to have sex with a guy who's just moody and grumpy all the time? You probably wouldn't want to make love to your wife if she was like moody and grumpy all the time and not in a very good happy mood, right? Maybe some guys are saying no, I would have sex no matter what, which may be the case, but you got to look at it from her point of view. If you're grumpy, if you're moody, then she's going to want to avoid you. She doesn't want to be around you if you're in that kind of mood. So you got to focus on bringing more fun and laughter back into the relationship. And you got to get back to a stage basically where you two are just like always like having fun and having a good time and joking and laughing. Like even if you can't do it all the time, you've always try and find a way a few times a day to make her laugh and to make her smile and to bring lightheartedness to the relationship and to your days together. And just trying to bring more of that essence back into the relationship. Another thing that you can do is to become more masculine again, because one of the big things that I see with couples is that because they spend so much time together, they start to become more like one another. They start saying things in the same kind of way. They start dressing in the same kind of way. So, for example, a woman may cut her hair really short and start wearing her husband's clothes more often. She's no longer got long hair or putting makeup on, and she's just sort of like shutting down her femininity, right? And it's the same with a guy. Like sometimes he may start to adopt some of her behaviors. So maybe he starts to become more needy, other sort of just things that women do. Like maybe he becomes indecisive. And is more unsure of himself, and basically he's not being the leader anymore. And that can happen very easily in a relationship. It's very easy to slip into those sort of behaviors and become like each other. I've seen this kind of stuff happen in my marriage as well. We even before we got married, because we spent so much time together, it's very easy to become very similar to the person that you're with. Like this jumper right now, that's not my jumper, that's one of my wife's jumpers, right? But it's just so cozy. But the thing is, right, the point is that when you spend a lot of time with someone, you become more like them. And basically the polarity starts to dissipate, okay? So the one that was more masculine starts to become a little bit more feminine, and the one that was feminine starts to become a little bit more masculine. And basically what happens is the sexual polarity just dissipates. And what I mean by that is this, right? Masculinity is obviously attracted to femininity, because more than likely you're a guy watching this, right? And you're probably a masculine guy, and you probably fancy the hell out of women that dress very feminine, that have their hair long, that wear makeup, and they just, take pride in their appearance, and they're just very softly spoken. They wear nice skirts, whatever it may be. Like, you're probably really turned on and attracted by women that are just really nurturing and sweet and lovely, right? And a feminine woman is attracted to a masculine man, a man who's a leader, who's confident, very stoic. Nothing can change his mood. He's going to have a good time no matter what. It doesn't matter what kind of mood she's in. He's always just going to stay the same, and he is her mountain, her rock. One of the things that I picked up about this was when I went to actually a funeral, which was kind of really, really obviously a sad situation, because he left. Of this man, he left some young daughters. They were like a teenager, and one of the things that the vicar was saying about him and his life and how his wife described him, he said that she adored him. She adored her husband so much, and it's really sad to lose him. And it's because that he made her feel safe. He was like the rock. He was her rock, and he kept on like reiterating the fact that he was her rock. And that's one of the things that she wanted to put into his obituary, because that's how she felt about him. So masculinity is like having that kind of energy, that sort of like, you can lean on me, I can take on the burden, I can, when you're sad, you can lean on me, I will protect you, I will talk to you, I will make you feel better again, right? And it's all about having that. You got to go back into your masculinity, okay? So one of the ways that you can do that is, of course, by hanging out with your guy friends more, focusing on your work, any goals that you've got, and putting that more of a higher priority than your relationship. Because if your relationship is at the top of the pinnacle of your your thoughts and your feelings and how you're presenting yourself in the world, then you're acting more feminine in that point, because femininity is all about connection, bonding. And typically with most women, they put relationships at the top of their pile of importance, like relationships with their husband, relationships with their kids, relationships with their parents, relationships with their friends. It's all about connecting and bonding. And women have goals too, but they're more lower on the list. Like they put people on the top of their list. Whereas men, when they're in their masculine essence, what they'll do is they'll put their goals and their work at the top of the list, because that's what's most important to them, because that's what drives them and that makes them feel ambitious. Now, of course, that's not always the case. Some women do obviously as well put their goals at the top of the list, but I'm just talking very generally here, okay? Most women won't do that. The majority of women won't do that, okay? So you got to become more masculine again. So like I said, you hang around your guy friends again. Focus on your mission and purpose. Dress more masculine. Do masculine activities, whatever that may be for you, okay, that make you feel more confident and strong in yourself and centered and like a guy, like a man, okay, and that's what you need to lean into, okay? So you got to become more masculine again. So the next thing that I want to get into is you got to focus on giving rather than getting, which is why I emphasized at the beginning about focusing on fun and bringing joy into her life and bringing laughter into her life. So you've got to be focused on giving and not getting, okay? Now, of course, you need to be acutely aware if you're not getting enough, which obviously this may be happening to you. But first of all, you've got to focus on yourself, because like I said, you can't change a woman, really. You can only change yourself, and maybe by changing yourself, it will change her behaviors, right? The only power that you've got is in what you do and how you show up. If she doesn't show up and match your energy, then sure, you go ahead and start the process of breaking up with her if that's what you really want. But what I mean by focus on giving rather than getting is that when you go to a relationship, really, it's all about giving. It's all about making each other happy and making each other laugh. And it happens, but sometimes we forget that. We forget to do those things. And we focus on our quotas. We focus on what we're getting. And we're not acutely aware enough to realize that actually we're just taking, and we've forgotten to give. Okay? So you got to start focusing on giving. Now, like I said, like focus on fun and laughter, making her have a good time when she's around you, trying to make the environment more uplifting, okay? Trying to make her life easier in some way, like maybe just doing something kind, like bringing her up a cup of coffee in the morning because you woke up earlier or something along those lines. It's all about finding ways that you can make her life more enjoyable and fun, and just by focusing on how, basically what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how can I make her life better? How can I make this day really good for her? How can I give her a really enjoyable experience when we go out today? And focusing on those kinds of things and asking yourself that question each day. Maybe like when you're in bed and you're about to wake up, you think, how can I make my wife and my girlfriend's life amazing today? What can I say to her? Where can we go? What can we do? You know, even if it's just something simple, like because maybe you've only got an evening to spend with her, like when you both get back from work or something like that. Just think, okay, so what can I do to make her laugh? What can I do to bring more joy into her life? And it's focus on giving and rather than receiving. Because when we focus on what we're not getting and we're focusing on what we're receiving, it's never enough. It can sometimes be just never enough, because you can always think of ways that your partner could be doing more for you. You can always be thinking of ways of how she could be giving more to you. You can make probably a massive list of the things that she should be doing, or you feel like she should be doing, or be doing better. Okay, it's endless. It can be endless if you start to think about it. But also, in the opposite of that, there are endless ways that you can give, and you can give her the love that you want to receive. Because I always think that the best way to get love is to give love. So focus on what you are giving and how you can give to her. And I promise you, things will change, okay? Especially if your woman is still in love with you. and is actually a decent human being. Now, it may be the case that she's not any of those things. She doesn't love you and she's not a decent human being, and she won't appreciate anything that you do at all. And if that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't be with her anymore. But if you've got a normal, sort of healthy woman on your hands who still loves you and is still attracted to you somewhat, when you start behaving in this way, it's going to draw her back. So another thing that's really important as well is that it's important that you give her your presence, okay? So what I mean by this is that when your woman is talking to you, you've got to pay attention and you've got to stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. So you put down your phone, put down the video game controller, put down the TV remote, whatever it may be that you're doing. You could even just be ruminating in your own thoughts and thinking about your day and the things that you want to get done. But you've got to come back to the present moment and focus on what she's saying to you, especially if you can tell by the tone of her voice that it's really important, because perhaps there's something troubling her, okay? And obviously, you want to make her feel better. And the best way, to make a woman feel better, because there might be a lot of stuff on her mind. If it's got to a point in your relationship where there's not much intimacy, there's probably a lot of stuff going on in her mind, and she doesn't feel as carefree as she once did when she was making love to you more consistently when you first started dating and when you were, whenever it was, right? So obviously there's something inside that is making her close her legs to you, close off from you. And the only way that you can get her to open her legs back up to you, right, is to open her up in a sort of like a mental way. And the best way you do that is by asking her questions. You ask her, is there something bothering you? What's going on? How come? Why do you think that we're not having sex as much anymore? What's going on? Was there something troubling you? Is there something on your mind? What is it? And get her to open up and talk about it. Okay, and you just keep on asking her questions. You're trying to pull it out of her, right? And it may take a couple of hours, because let's say this time is it's been going on for so long that there may be a lot of things that have sort of built up that she needs to undo, yeah? So it may take a while to get her to this place where she starts to feel better. And you'll know when she feels better, because she'll say, oh, I'm really glad that we got that off her chest. You'll be able to see relief in her. Yeah, she'll be so glad. She'll be like, I'm so glad that we talked about this. I'm so glad that I got this off my chest. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for caring about what's going on with me. You'll be able to see the relief leave. You just be able to see it, right? You'll be able to see the relief on her face. So if you want her to, maybe this evening, right, you got to start talking to her, asking her, what's up, baby? What's going on? Tell me. It's really important for me to know what's going on in your mind. I know this is an issue for us. Maybe you've already had arguments about it in the past. What's going on? What's on your heart? Tell me. What is it that I'm doing? What is it that has happened in the relationship? How can we rectify this? Is there anything I can do better? Is there anything that you would like me to do? And you just keep on asking her questions, and what she'll do, it will start to come out, and then it will just all flood out. And she may cry, she may be really upset, she may not want to talk about it to begin with, but that's just a test, okay? If she says to you, oh, I don't want to talk about it, wrong, she does. She just wants to see if you care. And what you got to do when she says, I don't want to talk about it, say, oh, I'm not going anywhere. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's troubling you. Talk to me, communicate, what's up? And you're like, no, I really, really don't want to talk about it. No, that's a test. Right, obviously you don't say that, but it is a test. She's wanting to see how much you care. Okay, so if she keeps on shutting you down, you just keep on saying, I'm not going anywhere. You got to tell me what's going on. Tell me what's on your heart. Okay, and keep on asking her questions. And she may say something like, it may start to come out very slowly, and she might say something along the lines of, well, you just frustrate me, and it's just so frustrating. He's like, okay, so I frustrate you. How come? Why? What am I doing that's frustrating? Right? And you just keep on pulling it out of her until you get to the root issue. And then once you've talked about it and she's got it off of her chest and you've asked her lots of questions and got to the root of it, that's when she'll start to feel better. And that's when she'll start to be more open to you again. Okay? So another thing that will help rekindle things and make her want to sleep with you again and be intimate with you again is you got to think back at the beginning of the relationship, right? When you guys first started dating each other and seeing each other. What did you used to do? And you got to go back to doing those kinds of things. Now, of course, now you may have more responsibilities. So, for example, you may have kids, right? So you don't have as much time to, be alone. It may be that you've got jobs, that are really time consuming, and maybe you need to even work when you're at home. So there's that going on. But essentially, you've got to try, even if it's just once or twice a month, to date her and behave around her like how you did when you first started dating. Especially the behaving part. So if you can imagine, if you can sort of go back and think about how you used to touch her, how you used to talk to her when you first started dating her, you can still do that every single night, okay, that you see her, or every morning that you see her, okay? Obviously, the dating you may only be able to do a couple of times a month, but you can definitely still act and behave and take yourself back to those times when you were together at the beginning, and behave like that whenever you see her, okay? But essentially, the way that you got her is how you keep her, okay? And that's what will bring the intimacy back. That's what will make her more attracted to you. And what you'll see, it may not happen at the drop of a hat, like she'll want to sleep with you again tonight. But what you'll see over time as you do this, the barriers will start to break down. She'll start to be more loving towards you again. And because you're now communicating with her, and you know how to communicate with her, and you're letting her talk to you, and you're asking her questions and getting her to open up, that's when things will really start to improve. And eventually, slowly, as time goes on, you'll start to make love more and more, and it'll get back to how it was, okay? But she fell out of love with you slowly, or she fell out of bed with you slowly, so it's also going to be a slow rise back to where it used to be as well. So you got to give it time, you got to be patient, okay? So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christinelovridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.